So if you want to be able to play what you hear in your head, there's one area that can help you boost this skill. Watch this video for the answer and for a new resource by my friend Greg Fishman. Now, Merrill had made a comment to me that he wants to quickly translate what he hears in his head to the improvisation that he plays on his instrument. In the last video, I went over the basics of intervals. What are they? How to form them, how we use them, what tools can help you to write them out and hear them. And in this video, I want to review a new resource by Greg Fishman that will give you a very different perspective on this concept. Now, before I go on, hey, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button so you know when my weekly videos get released. Thanks so much for your support. Now, what Greg wanted to accomplish with this book was to help the student create practical applications of intervals to their improvisation. This would, in turn, improve their ear training and help them to be able to play what they hear in their head. Now, this book is in 4 sections. So it's section 1 is intervals in the cycle. Section 2 is interval placement by chord type. Section 3 is intervals over descending chords. And section 4 is intervals in action. Now, I'm going to say this. I would strongly encourage you to read through the beginning text section before attempting to go through the book. I get it. I know. You don't want to read. You just want to dive into the exercises. I totally get it. But you're going to have a really hard time understanding how to apply what he's put in this book. And you're just going to waste more time. Okay? It's going to take you that much longer. All right? So just take a few minutes, read through the opening section. I think it's really going to help you. Now, I wanted to point out a couple of quotes from the beginning section that that I thought were really important. And this is on page 7. It's under information versus skill. It's because we learn information by reading about things, but we acquire skills by actively doing things. This requires repeated, careful practice and not just an intellectual understanding of the subject. That's why it's so important to take the time to practice this stuff slowly and thoughtfully. You know, as educators, we have this term, edutainment. And it's basically people are watching educational videos, but they're not taking action on them. All right, so I'm going to really suggest that whether you buy this book or not, it doesn't matter, but take action on any of the educational videos that you watch so you can make the progress instead of just watching them for sheer entertainment purposes. Now, before I go on, who here wants to improve their ability to play what they hear in their head? Hey, if so, type yes in the comments. I should see a whole bunch of yeses because I think we all do. All right, now I wanted to talk about, it's got a couple more sections in the beginning. The organization of the book, he talks about that. And he goes through, on page 15, the practice strategies, okay, by section. So he talks about how he thinks would be best for you to practice this book, you know, within each section. There's some really great advice here. And I personally, here's what I think. I think there's 2 ways to approach this book. You could take one interval, like for example, a minor second, and go through each section of the book, just working on that one interval before moving on to another interval, like let's say a major second. Or you could work on one section at a time, you know, but that means working on all the intervals at once. But also please following his practice strategies. All right, so for this video, I'm pretty much going to approach it using the first way, and I'm going to use the minor second as the example. Now, section 1 is about working out the interval in all keys, but Greg approaches this differently than most. Instead of doing one key at a time, like let's say you had, you know how we all practice our thirds or our fourths or our seconds or whatever, and we go through the key and then we go through another key. No, he has you working through that interval in a cycle. So for example, for minor seconds, he has it like this. So it's in the cycle. So it's going from C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, etc. Okay, but with the minor second interval from going from that note. So in section 1, he's got 4 different directions. All ascending, which is what I just played. The next direction is all descending. Direction 3 is ascending and then descending, like this. Okay, and then finally the fourth direction is descending and then ascending. So be creative, okay? Be as creative as possible. Expand your mind. Okay, in section 2, you're going to hear how that particular interval, let's say a minor second, how that interval sounds against certain chords. Now, Greg takes you through the possible spots where those intervals will occur within each chord. So, for example, I'm going to use a minor second, okay? And let's say I'm in concert C, right? So the first chord he has listed here is a C major 7. So that's this sound over here. I'll do it this way. A little higher pitches, this way we can hear them. Okay, taking that minor second, so he's suggesting the notes that would sound best within that concert C major 7 chord. Okay, so let me do this again. And then the fifth. Okay, now here's where I have to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. I'd really strongly suggest that you get your hands on a keyboard or a piano, okay? The keyboards are really cheap right now, or you could wait until there's a huge sale or whatever. You need to hear what these intervals sound like against these chords, okay? It's super important. I don't have a sustain pedal. I think I lost it. This keyboard is so old. It's probably from the 1990s. It still works though. But a sustain pedal would be best so that you could just play the chord and then you'll have enough time to get the instrument up to your face to play it. What you can do though, if that's too tricky, like in my situation right now, do 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 do. I could sing that interval as well, and that's really valuable. Okay. I also have to say that it's also at this point in the book where I feel the people who would benefit the most are those that have some understanding of how to form the chords, because you need to understand that in order to get the most benefit, honestly. And in Greg's directions, he states that he wants you to arpeggiate the chord first. That means on your instrument. Okay, so does that mean that, this book will not benefit you? Not necessarily, I don't mean that, but the people that will get the most benefit at this stage of the game, sections 2, 3, and 4, are those that understand how to form chords, okay? Now, here's the other thing, too, and this is great for teachers, whether you're in a public school or private studio in a college. This book, I think, should really be in your library because you're going to help your students expand their ears, their hearing, and really understand how intervals, work, what they sound like. They'll be able to internalize the intervals much better. Okay, so just really keep that in mind. So again, getting back to section 2, he breaks it down. Location of minor seconds in major 7th chords. Location of the minor seconds in the dominant 7 chords. Location of minor seconds in the minor 7th chords. So for example, if I have a concert C minor, and I'm going to put my right hand over here, and I want to play the flat 7 to the 13. So that's a concert B flat to a concert A. This is what this would sound like. Okay, and he goes on. Location of minor seconds in minor 7 flat 5 chords, in diminished 7th chords. All right, so that's section 2. All right, so in section 3, it's intervals over descending chords. So if I take that minor second, that C, concert C to concert D flat. All right, and I hear what those two notes sound like in a descending chord sequence. This is going to really just open up your ears to so many possibilities. So I'm going to actually sing this because I need 2 hands. Yes, I need 2 hands to play the extensions. My hands are small. Okay, so I'm going to do a concert C7 flat 9. Do 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 do, and then a B flat minor 7. Do do and then an A7 sharp 9, right? A7 sharp 9. And it goes on from there. Now, section 4 is the practical application. It follows the title. It's intervals in action. But please, please, please don't just skip to this part of the book because you just want to jump there. You're not gonna really get the benefit of the book. Your ears are not going to be opened up enough to understand this. Now, what he does, because Greg Fishman has such a wide library, an expansive library of his own works, he uses examples from his books, his jazz phrasing books, his hip lick books, his jazz etude books. Yeah, there's some great stuff in here. So, for example, under minor seconds, and let me just see. Yeah, there's a number of pages of examples of the minor seconds with these chords. Okay, lots of minor seconds within there and within the changing chords. Okay, now here's an advanced concept for you. What you can do is start to look for these intervals in standards, right? So think about straightener chaser. Hear all those minor seconds in there, right? Right, so think about your standards or other pieces of music, whatever, this is not jazz specific, okay? A lot of folks that I teach, a lot of folks that I do gigs with, and including myself, we don't just play jazz, we play all styles of music. But if you understand jazz theory and music theory, it's going to help you with whatever style you're playing, okay? So in terms of genre, this book is definitely for everybody. If you're a very beginner player, I'm going to encourage you to continue to work on your scales, your long tones. When you're doing your scales, think about how each scale tone is a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Think about that. Learn how to arpeggiate chords, but be patient when you're practicing this stuff because you want to be able to really understand it, soak it in, and internalize it. And then once you're able to play a bunch of scales and you're able to form chords and play the arpeggios and stuff, this, I think, would be a great book for you to get. And I certainly encourage all teachers, definitely get this book. You don't have to be a saxophone player, okay? It really is for all instruments. All right, so that is my review of Greg Fishman's Intervals in Action. I'll put links in the show notes for places for you to buy it. I think it's another great, incredible, outstanding addition to the Jazz Education Library, not just the saxophone library, but the Jazz Education Library. And thanks so much, Greg, for all that you do and putting out all these works. He really is actually the nicest guy, and he's so helpful. And, definitely check out this book. All right. Thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Have a great day.